What's up, everybody? Instagram decided not to let me copy and paste again. and I was actually planning on doing a review for this, but as you can tell by my voice, I'm a little sick, and it's really bothering me that I don't have like a full review out on my Instagram page. So here we are. For those of you who don't know, I do like a copy and paste thing to do for my Goodreads, and Instagram is the same thing. Instagram sometimes is wonky, it won't let me type, but yeah. This is Even More Tales for the Midnight Hour. This is like the fourth book in the series, I think. The cover's really cool. I like the bat, the little lizard. It's more cartoony than the other covers. And also, just a disclaimer, if you hear me cough or anything, just ignore it. I'm just trying to stay alive. I decided I'm going to try to go through each individual story and give you a rating or, whatever. But we'll see. If I rate it lower than what I rated on Goodreads or something, just bear with me. I'm doing this based on memory. I finished this probably like 2 days ago. And I will say right off the bat, this wasn't one of my favorite horror anthologies. There's probably like 3 good stories out of this. The rest were just like average. None were bad, but most were just like, I don't know, bland, and some were even a little boring. There's one in this story that just, it feels like it took like a long time to read, but it didn't. I mean, it's a short story, but anyway, I'm going to flip over and we'll show you the table of contents. So, here we go. Alright. So our first story is called Voices, and it is about these 2 girls that are best friends, and one starts going basically crazy, and she starts like picking off accidents. Like she says, don't do this, you're going to get hurt or whatever. And she tells this girl not to go to the movie theater. And sure enough, she doesn't go, and the movie theater burns down. And towards the end of the story, the girl asks, who's telling you all this? Like, how are you knowing these things? There's like accidents with her teacher and stuff. And she says, they're telling me. And she pulls her close, and then that reveals the ending, which I'm not going to spoil. This story was really good. I like that one. It kind of reminded me of like The Exorcist a little bit. I just saw The Exorcist in theaters, The Exorcist Believer, and I thought it was really good. So, yeah. I gave that one a 4 out of 5 stars. The Gecko was my first weakest one. It's about this guy that moves to New York, and he has a roach infestation problem. And he sees a newspaper clipping about getting a gecko, because geckos eat a lot of roaches and stuff, like per minute or something. And he gets one, and it keeps him up at night because all he hears is crunch, crunch, crunch. And this is a theme throughout this story, where you get something and it keeps you up at night, and it makes like a certain sound or something. This one was okay. The ending was great. Very gory, but 3 out of 5 stars. The next one's called The Head, and this one was a little weird. This girl moves into this house with her family, and she sees outside of her house there's this headless person walking around. She starts freaking out. Her parents don't believe her at all. I mean, why should you? They think that she's just saying this just to get out. And so they decide to try to cheer her up by taking her out to eat. And they go out to eat, and they meet this woman who they just met, and they offer the woman a job to take care of their kid while they go to the student-teacher conference thing. And yeah, and then this gets to the ending, which didn't make a lot of sense. It was alright. Like, had good visuals, I guess, but yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. Better Late Than Never. This is a good one. This is about this guy. He wakes up on the side of the road, and he feels like blood all over the top of his head, and he doesn't remember where he's at, and he's hurting and all this stuff, and everybody that he runs into runs away from him. Very typical story. He runs into a payphone, he makes a call, and this phone call answers all of his questions. And I really enjoyed this one. I'm pretty sure I've read that before somewhere. I don't think that's very original. But yeah, 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed that one. The Golden Arm. This one was. Ugh. There's this woman that's married to this guy, and she loses her hand in an accident, and he buys her a golden arm because he's a pushover, and she pretty well makes him. And she gets this golden arm, and she sees this obituary in a newspaper, and it's about one of her friends. Her friend just died, and she tells her husband, if I ever die, I want to be buried with my arm. And the husband's pretty mad because he wants this arm for himself to, get some money back because he spent all of his money on this thing. And this is very typical. The woman dies. He goes and digs up the arm, and this is basically return to slab from Courage the Cowardly Dog. Yeah. 3 out of 5 stars. I think I gave that. It's fine. All right. Dead Man's Cave is about these two brothers. One keeps having nightmares about this cave that his dad told him about. And he's going to go to this cave to confront his fears and prove that nothing's wrong. And basically he goes into this cave and he runs into one thing that's scary, and it's like on the last page. And I mean, it was fine. I mean, nothing bad, but it took a lot to get there, 3 out of 5 stars. The Midnight Feeding. This one is where I kind of started getting to these stories and realizing, like, I think I've read this somewhere. I never owned this book as a kid. I actually recently found this book like a couple years ago. But this one, and there's another one that really, like, feels like I've read it before. So, The Midnight Feeding is about this girl staying home by herself. She gets a phone call, and the phone call asks if she wants to go and become a babysitter at this house. She accepts it, which is stupid. Don't do that. She goes, and these people tell her to feed the baby at midnight and different things like that. And whatever they do, don't open the window or the curtain. And sure enough, she does, and then something bad happens to her. And I'm not entirely sure what genre of thing is this baby. That might have spoiled a little bit, but I'm not entirely sure what this thing was. Yeah, it's pretty short. This one was fine. I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars also, mainly because I didn't know what it was. When Darkness Comes is the next one. This one's pretty good. It's about this guy going through shopping, and he runs into a painting, and the painting has this picture of a castle with a light at the top of it, like coming out of a room, and he goes to get it cleaned, and this guy freaks out, and he tells him, take this thing away from me, the guy cleaning it, and he notices that the light's gone, right? So this guy becomes infatuated with this the picture. His friends are worried about him, all this stuff. And then something happens at the very end, and if I read it right, if I understood it right, it's pretty cool. It doesn't explain how this happened, but still pretty neat. Good visual. 4 out of 5 stars for me. All right, King of Cats. This one has to be the most unique story out of all of these stories. I've never read this story. I'm thinking that most of these stories were in another book that wasn't in the Tales for the Midnight Hour. I think that these are just, but like out of another like scary stories you've ever heard series or something maybe. King of Cats. King of Cats is one of those stories that I just want you to read yourself because I don't even have words. Shout out to Shadyside Library. You want a creepy cat story? Here you go. It's kind of barely creepy, but it's more funny. But there's this gravedigger. He is digging a hole for this lady that passed away. And as he's digging, he starts hearing meows. And he looks and he sees a group of cats. There is 4 on one side, 4 on the other, and they're carrying something in their hand. And then there's a leader cat, and they're all walking on their hind legs, and it turns out they're carrying a casket. And that's literally all I'm going to say, because that should be enough to get you intrigued. Yeah, this never read anything like that, so very unique, very cool. I won't forget that one for years to come, hopefully. 4 out of 5 stars. All right, the White Dove. The White Dove is honestly the same thing as the Golden Arm, with a little bit of mixing up. So there's this woman that is on her deathbed, and she tells her husband to never remarry. He promises his wife that he won't, and she says that she will come back as a white dove in their garden and visit him. He waits 5 years after she dies, and she never shows up. So he ends up getting married, and sure enough, right after he gets married, on the wedding day, this dove starts showing up and just starts wrecking everything that he has. And this story just made me mad, because I don't know the ghost rules, but if you're dying and you tell me, hey, don't do this, I'll be back, and I wait 5 years and I don't see you, I think it's time to move on. But yeah, I don't know. It just made me mad. I don't know. I didn't like this one. 3 out of 5 stars. Cemetery Hill. This is another one I know I've read. All right, so there's this group of kids on Halloween night. This one actually takes place on Halloween, so that's pretty cool. And they are going up this hill that like overlooks their town, and a couple of boys get on one side of a tree, and the other boy gets on another side of the tree. And what they do is they take this coarse rope thing, like cord, and they stretch it across, and they keep knocking people's hats off as they walk by, making them think it's a ghost, scaring them. And then one comes by, and the moon like gets dark, and it's a really tall guy that comes by next. And then something happens, and I was like, wow, I read this. I give that one a 4 out of 5 stars. I know I've read it before. It's nothing unique. Excuse me, sorry. I told you there was one coming. So yeah, that one, 4 out of 5 stars. Claustrophobia. This one was something. The story, this one here is about this guy. He is going to go see his aunt, and his aunt, he doesn't like to go see her because she lives in this very small, very small apartment, and she's like got it cluttered and all this stuff. She informs him that there is this I'm sorry. Trying to get my throat to not scratch. But she informs him that there is some jewelry in this chimney, and he ends up climbing up and retrieving them for her, because he doesn't know that she tells him that, she stole them and she wants to be buried with them when she goes to die. He gets them for her, and he gets mad and wants revenge for some reason. He goes to take them back, and something happens that's very terrifying. 3 out of 5 stars. Yeah. Island of Fear. Island of Fear is about these Boy Scouts. There's 6 of them, and they're going to each have to go stay on an island overnight. And there is this scaredy cat kid and this bully kid. And as they're approaching these islands, they notice that some of the islands look a little scarier than the others. And they're going to drop off the new kid, which is the scaredy cat, off on this one island. And the bully kid is going to stay on an island. And basically what happens is the bully kid bullies his way into staying in the good island. And the nerdy kid, goes to the bad island. And there is this little story that at the beginning of the story that they tell about basically a werewolf. This person that can they call it a shapeshifter, but they say it shapeshifts into a wolf. So whatever. Yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. This one, the wrong person got punished. I assumed it would I assumed that it would be like one of those like twisty turvy, is that the word, where you think that this kid is going to be put on the bad island, but it actually turns out to be good, and opposite or something. But no, it just the good kid actually gets put on the bad island. But yeah, and that's essentially even more tales from the midnight hour. Definitely not one of my favorite horror anthologies right off the bat. I felt like a lot of these stories were very repetitive. Something gets stolen or something, and then you get paid back for it, or they want this back or something, and it was all right. The other one, I will say, the very first story in this anthology series, I read it last year and I actually really liked it. I think there was a few that were like not great, but overall it was really, really good. Overall, this story collection thing, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Yeah, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't great. It's honestly probably one of my least favorite horror anthologies I've probably ever read. But, you know, yeah, that's going to be it for me, guys. I'm going to go get some water. 3 out of 5 stars for me. Please let me know if you read this in the comments below. Thank you. Goodbye.